Chapter 20, Congressman X. In May 2016, reporter Claire Burnish highlighted the arrival of a new book that was about to be released by a mysterious current or former congressman or woman identified only as a Democrat. In the book they state that my main job is to keep my job, to get re-elected. It takes precedence over everything they say. They also say that voters are incredibly ignorant and know little about our form of government and how it works. It's far easier than you think to manipulate a nation of naive, self-absorbed sheep who crave instant gratification, they say. In Congressman X, the book, it contains notes collected from the unnamed politician by Robert Atkinson, a former chief of staff and press secretary for two Democratic congressmen over a period of several years, and the book was published with permission from the source. The book also states that voters claim they want substance and detailed position papers, but what they really crave are cutesy cat videos, celebrity gossip, top 10 lists, reality TV shows, tabloid hype, and the next fucking Twitter message they rant. The book also provides this classic quote from someone elected into power, and they say that I worry about our country's future when critical issues take a backseat to the inane utterings of illiterate athletes and celebrity twits. The congressman also makes evident the futility of political battles and says things are so partisan today most folks vote the straight party line, even though they don't know shit about who they are voting for. They just don't want the other guys to win. Currently living here in the UK, the last election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump was all over our controlled television news channels every day, and I imagine that it was nothing compared to the coverage on the news channels in the United States. But the congressman says that little consideration is given to what happens once the president and Congress people take office. Sounds just like Brexit to me. Fundraising is so time-consuming I seldom read any bills I vote on. I don't even know how they'll be implemented or what they'll cost. My staff give a last-minute briefing before I go to the floor and tells me whether to vote yea or nay. How bad is that, says Congressman X. Amazingly, the politician also says that I sometimes vote yes on a motion and no on an amendment, so I can claim I'm on either side of an issue. It's the old shell game. If you can't convince them, confuse them, they said. They admit also that money-soaked policy has become reality, as strictures on donations and funding are regularly and deftly circumvented by legislators. Philanthropic organizations, he specifically names the Clinton Foundation, but numerous charities exist, act as intermediaries and beneficiaries of bribery for policy. They go on to explain that some contributions are subtle: donations to a member's non-profit foundation, funding a member's charitable pet project, offsetting the cost of a member's portrait to adorn the committee room he or she has so faithfully served. It's a bunch of bullshit to get around gift bans and limits on campaign contributions. Where there's a will, there's a way. Business organizations and unions fork over more than $3 billion a year to those who lobby the federal government. Does that tell you something? We're operating a fucking casino, they said. It'll show you politics in America. Here it is right here. I think the puppet on the right shares my beliefs. I think the puppet on the left is more to my liking. Hey, wait a minute, there's one guy holding out both puppets. This is a quote by comedian Bill Hicks. Comedian George Carlin summed up the current situation perfectly when he said that the real owners are the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're an irrelevancy. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They've got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies so that they control just about all of the news and information you hear. They've got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want: more for themselves and less for everyone else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They are not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interests. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they are getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. You know what they want: obedient workers, people who are just smart enough to run the machines and do paperwork but just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with a lower pay, the longer hours, reduced benefits, the end of overtime and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they are coming for your social security. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it all back so that they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all, sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you aren't in it. Republicans ousting Democrats is like the Gambinos replacing the Bonanos. This is a quote by Gerard Celent. Talking of a big club, did you know that President Reagan's administration team in 1981 consisted of 59 people, including 28 CFR members, 10 Bilderberg Group members and 10 Trilateral Commission members? Now that's a big club. Sylvia Browne, in her book entitled Secret Societies and How They Affect Our Lives Today, wrote that part of the pursuit by the elite to create the New World Order was initiated by William C. Whitney, who was a past member of Skull and Bones. The plan involved controlling America's political parties through financial contributions. Their original idea was to have the major parties alternate control of the government so that the public would think that they had a choice come election time. This eventually evolved into having the powerful elite move both parties towards the political center. This of course resulted in the Democratic and Republican parties becoming almost identical, so that even if the public threw the rascals out, it wouldn't lead to any major shifts in policy. Recently, 2000, you were witness to the drama played out in the presidential election crisis in the United States, headquarters of the secret government. These two very uncharismatic puppets, both funded by the same corporate giants, took not only the American nation but also the entire globe to the limits of frustration over who would be the winner and succeed in becoming the most powerful man in the world. You who live within these borders, protested for these characters, pouring your energies into their insignificant debate, believing that one or the other should stand for your people, just as much as you realized that neither had the brilliance nor the intention to effectively represent you. You went through the motions of casting your ballots, for this is the apex of your democratic process, yet you were shown in the final analysis that your votes do not count and that the process is completely corrupt. All the while, the media and the manipulations of the puppeteers fuel separation amongst you, stimulating your loyalty to one or the other political party. This is a quote by Patricia Corey.